For an update. It's been a while, guys. I'm busy doing other stuff, but I just want to show you where are on the turbo. As you can see, that's mounted on a stand. That's the old stand with the ZX normally aspirated engine. I put it back all together. This is a new stand I built, which I just put some new wheels on because the old wheels are falling apart. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. As you can see, it's all installed. I got the turbo manifold on. I've been working on some of the plumbing issues, making sure everything's plumbed up right. I'm probably going to need some help from any of you turbo guys on where all those lines go. I've got one line here unaccounted for. It's right here. There's a manifold right there. You can see it, and I'm not sure where this line goes. All right, this was already all hooked up to this valve down here, so I'm pretty solid on that. But and I'm pretty sure that this is I don't know what that goes to be honest. I have no idea what that goes to. It's weird because I've got a valve here with a line that goes to an intake manifold there and one down here. So I don't know what this thing goes to. That looks like that's just a vacuum supply, maybe for a gauge, for a boost gauge. I don't know. But yeah, I've got a unaccounted for lead here, an unaccounted for lead here, and an unaccounted for lead out of this thing, out of this line right here, which is shared with just like a one-way valve that goes down to this actuator. I don't know. Maybe it's in the FSM. I'll look around for it. So everything's hooked up here. I've got the fuel system worked out. I went ahead and mounted that pump rather than just let it hang loose like I had on the other test stand. It's just some copper sheet, some staples. I just did something quick just to hold it in place. You can also see I'm using clear vinyl line, at least for the feed to the pump. I mean, that'd be nice. So some of the issues I used to have is that line would be not in the fuel very well, and I'd start sucking air, and I wouldn't know half the time what was wrong. It turned out that damn thing wasn't getting any gas. So I can monitor the gas flow using that vinyl line right there. So that's all secured, ready to hook up. I've got a new switch here. I'm going to be installing this later. That's just an ignition switch. I was thinking about using a legit switch I got out of a junkyard, but it seemed kind of hokey, so I went ahead and got that. So we'll use that to hook it up. The battery's off the old test stand. I'm not going to buy a separate battery just for this. I've got the main power leads. That's the starter feed, and the ground lead is hooked up. I've got a manual oil pump gauge, so I can oil pressure gauge. I'm not going to bother with all the instrumentation that I did on the other one, the electronic instrumentation. I'll just use this manual pressure gauge, and I'll stick a thermometer into the radiator. What else is going on with this? I already got the oil pressure feed line all set up and attached to all the hard points where it belongs. This is I'm sure that's for the pressure booster, so I'll need to plug that up. I mean, for the brake booster, so I'll need to hook that up. Oh, the intake. The fuel rail. Fuel rail has been. I bolted it back on just to make sure it would all go back on, and the plan is to install the fuel injectors. Now, the fuel injectors. I've got a set of. These are new old stock, and I tested them by, making sure that the pintle was working properly. I actually pulled a vacuum on it and then would fire the pintle to make sure it would open up. Anyway, these are they were new in the box. I'm new in a sealed packages in the box, so that was good. I actually got 5 of them. I had quite a problem getting this last one, but it's on the way now. I've got to get a new plastic insulator. That one's cracked right here. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. That broke. So, but that's coming. So these injectors will be installed. I'm kind of debating the best way to install them. Personally, I think I like the idea of going ahead and bolting them to the manifold and then installing the fuel rail on top of it, rather than installing them to the fuel rail and then fighting them into these holes. Because frankly, that can be kind of difficult. You really won't want to be, trying to get the screwdriver here, make sure they're not cross-straying or anything weird. So I'll probably pull the fuel rail off again, get it out of the way, just hinge it out of the way, install those, make sure I get the O-rings in place, install those injectors, and then lube this up. Maybe a buddy of mine was saying maybe I should try heating up the hoses a little bit with a heat gun, to make sure they kind of are pliable and they go in there okay. I'll do whatever it takes to get them over this fuel rail. But anyway, that still needs to be done. And I think I've replaced all the vacuum lines that were issues here. We have this is all the emission control stuff, goes to the carbon canister. Not worried about that, I'll just plug that up. Oh, I have to get the, do we have it out here? I have to get the ignition coil. So what I'm going to probably do there is rig up a way to attach the ignition coil right into this area, sort of like I did with the pump. I'll probably use some kind of wrapping to get that put that ignition coil secure, get this plugged in. That is just long enough. That might be a bit of a problem. But yeah, that's it. That's the copper I just used. But that's about it. The only other thing that's happening is I went ahead and have on order an S pipe that bolts directly to this turbo and goes down and comes back out and is designed to mate up with the cat back of the Z. So that, I mean, that means I would not have to fabricate from here back, which maybe that would not have been that hard to do, but it was pretty cheap, and the idea that I can just bolt it on, if it really does go all the way back to the cat back, and all I have to do is get an adapter to bolt it to that, hey, that's worth it right there. But anyway, that's where we are. Oh, these wheels. Yeah, I got these wheels at a place called Woodcrafter. Here's what happened was the old wheels were not up to the task. The wheels that came with the cart that I built this thing on, which I don't know where they are right now. There's the airplane. It's like a turboprop. Anyway, so they started to fold up. The wheels started to kind of collapse on me. So I went to a place called Woodcrafters, and they have these really cool wheels. And I just bolted them on. And what's neat about them is they have these locks that not only lock as a brake, but they also lock the position. So when you do that, that wheel is locked. See, it won't caster anymore. So it both locks the position it goes in and it keeps it from castering. And they said they were rated at 250 pounds. So I'm hoping this whole setup doesn't weigh more than 1,000 pounds. I don't know. But anyway, we'll see how they hold up. I just bolted them to some 1x6s because the stand was already assembled and the engine was already on the stand. So that was gonna be a problem to try to figure out a way to bolt them, through that. So I did. I just bolted them to some 1x6s, and then I attached the 1x6s with some of these drywall screws down here. Hopefully that'll all hold together. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, I put a starter on it. I think I mentioned that. This is the starter that was giving me some trouble, so I put the new starter on. That's about it. I got to rehook up my water bypass. I don't know why I had to cut that for some reason. And I've got another radiator. So, oh, I know what I have to do. That's right, I forgot. I've got a intake hose right here that goes to an airflow meter. So I'm going to have to figure out some way of coming off of this stand and giving myself some support. I don't want the airflow meter just hanging in the breeze out here. That thing's a big heavy thing, and with this long tube, I don't want to screw it up. So we're going to have to figure out some way of fabricating a mount that'll come out here and give me some support for the airflow meter. So it's the ignition coil and the airflow meter. I won't worry about the radiator yet. If the engine fires, I'll worry about the radiator. The injectors, and then of course the electronics, hooking it all up. I've got the wiring all figured out, I think. about how to make it work. The only thing that's a little bit tricky is they integrate the ignition with the ECU on this particular, on the turbo setup. So as the other ones, like that one over there, has got a separate ignition unit. I think you can see it right there. So, you know, that's not a standalone device. So I have to get the whole setup going on before I can get anything tested. So this one's a little bit more complicated, but I mean, that's just the way it is. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. And when I get a few more things hooked up, I'll try to come back and give you an update. But that's it. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.